So, it's been rumored that you and I have a feud.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it takes two people to feud.
And it's never been there.
I want to know, did you say things about me to be provocative, or did you really just not like me?
Has there ever been a moment when you discover your longtime idol might be more complicated than you imagined? For many in Hollywood, especially black actors, that moment has arrived with Oprah Winfrey. She's a household name tied to philanthropy, self-empowerment, and staggering success. Yet, behind the big interviews and favorite things, some are claiming that she wields her influence in ways that harm the very community she once symbolized. From underpayment controversies to allegations of blacklisting, more and more stars have begun to question whether Oprah has turned her back on them, or if they simply got caught in the crossfire of one of the most powerful figures in entertainment. One of the earliest warning signs came from none other than 50 Cent, the rapper who once stood as the poster child for hip-hop grit and entrepreneurial hustle. Years ago, he dreamed of being a guest on Oprah's talk show, seeing it as an opportunity not just to boost his brand, but also to show his grandmother, a devoted Oprah fan, that he was making a positive shift in life. But the invitation never arrived. Oprah refused to book him, leading 50 Cent to interpret her stance as snubbing the entire hip-hop community. He publicly accused her of catering to a primarily older white audience, ignoring the cultural significance of rap music. This wasn't just about an appearance on daytime TV, it symbolized a bigger issue: Oprah's apparent reluctance to engage with young black artists who spoke from the streets rather than from studio boardroom. 50 Cent's frustration only grew. He felt overlooked by an icon he once admired, and he didn't mince words about it either. On multiple occasions, he insisted that Oprah was essentially turning white, aligning herself with viewpoints that turned a blind eye to the struggles and expressions of inner-city communities. He turned his anger into a pointed statement by naming his dog Oprah and his cat Gail, a clear dig at Oprah's longtime friend Gayle King. For 50 Cent, it was personal, but for the wider black entertainment world, his clash with Oprah raised a question. Is Oprah Winfrey truly an ally to black artists? Or does she simply pick and choose whose stories matter? That question lingered, especially among up-and-coming talents who worried they'd never be allowed on her stage if they rapped too hard or spoke too bluntly. Before anyone could fully process 50 Cent's accusations, another major talent stepped into the ring with his own experiences. You might remember when comedian Dave Chappelle famously walked away from a massive Comedy Central deal, citing creative pressure and personal stress. In the aftermath, he appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show to speak about why he turned down such an enormous sum of money. On the surface, it looked like an honest, introspective conversation. But according to some, Oprah's handling of that moment was anything but empathetic. Dave tried to express his fears about the industry, his concerns over mental health, and why he felt singled out for comedic content that others were profiting from. Instead of offering him understanding or letting him air his side, Oprah allegedly kept interrupting, pushing him to admit he was struggling with deeper mental issues. That kind of on-air confrontation seemed less like a supportive gesture and more like an attempt to manufacture a sensational TV segment. People who rewatched the interview felt Oprah came across as dismissive, as if she was trying to mold Dave's narrative rather than hear him out. This wasn't just a rumor among fans. Chappelle's hesitation to appear on big talk shows afterwards cemented the belief that that particular episode had left a sour taste. The entire ordeal spotlighted a recurring criticism of Oprah, that she could be controlling, even manipulative, in high-pressure interviews. If you were on her stage, you had to play by her rules. For many viewers, the Dave Chappelle episode rang an alarm bell. Was Oprah genuinely trying to help a comedic genius who'd taken an unprecedented career move, or was she simply after the most provocative soundbite to keep ratings high? The question never fully vanished, and Chappelle's reluctance to re-engage with large talk shows fueled the speculation that not all was rosy in the Oprah Winfrey empire. Meanwhile, controversy was brewing in another corner of Tinseltown. Ludacris, the rapper and actor known for his role in the Fast and Furious franchise, encountered a situation that mirrored 50 Cent's experience. During a promotional interview for the critically acclaimed film Crash, Oprah seemed far less interested in the complexities of the movie's racial themes and more fixated on Ludacris's explicit lyrics.
Right.
She edited out what you had to say.
Pretty much.
Okay.
That's what it came down to. That was the only time I was on Oprah.
Okay, and then
She grilled him on his use of the N-word, among other content, and reportedly edited out many of his attempts to explain why he used certain words in his music. To Ludacris, it felt like a setup. He claimed she'd invited him under the guise of discussing an important film about racial tension, only to blindside him with moralistic condemnation of his rap persona. This was the moment he realized that Oprah's brand might not have space for those who didn't reflect her more polished version of black success. But even more rattling than the uncomfortable interview was the way Ludacris's remarks were trimmed from the final show. He claimed that after the cameras stopped rolling, Oprah's team cut key parts of his rebuttal, leaving him looking defensive and unprepared. That editing choice stung, reinforcing the notion that the Oprah Winfrey Show had no interest in presenting the nuanced perspective of a rapper navigating the entertainment industry. Instead, it was perceived as a takedown. As 50 Cent had suggested, Oprah seemed to be building walls between herself and certain elements of black culture, particularly the rawer, less sanitized voices. Whether fair or not, these experiences with Ludacris, Dave Chappelle, and 50 Cent started forming a pattern that outsiders couldn't ignore. Yet all of these clashes paled compared to the bombshell allegations that came from Academy Award-winning actress Monique.
I would say, Oprah Winfrey, you know what you need to do.
She had a starring role in the Lee Daniels film Precious, backed by Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. Despite the film's success, Monique claimed she was severely underpaid, earning only $50,000 for a project that raked in millions. Then she was asked to do extensive promotional tours for free, a request she felt was exploitative. When she refused, Monique says, everything changed. Almost overnight, she went from an acclaimed talent to an industry pariah. Offers dried up, and a whisper campaign began painting her as difficult and uncooperative. According to her, the whisper started with Oprah, Tyler Perry, and Lee Daniels, all of whom distanced themselves and allowed rumors to swirl that she was hard to work with. Monique did not stay silent. She fired back, exposing the alleged behind-the-scenes manipulations that powerful Black Hollywood figures sometimes wield. In interviews, she named Oprah outright, suggesting that a woman who famously preached about authenticity and empowerment was exercising her power to stifle Monique's career. That outspokenness only made the blowback worse, and the industry, at least on the surface, sided with the heavyweights. For years, Monique struggled to reclaim her footing, finding roles here and there, but never matching the momentum she had before Precious. In the eyes of many, Monique's story was the clearest example of how Oprah could shift from supportive mentor to silent gatekeeper with a single phone call. Enter 50 Cent again. While he'd long clashed with Oprah's world, he surprisingly stepped up to back Monique when almost nobody else would. Known for his loud persona and zero-filter commentary, the rapper saw parallels between his own experiences of feeling blackballed and Monique's predicament. He took to social media, praising her comedic talent and condemning the industry's willingness to toss aside anyone who dared to question financial inequalities. He even addressed Tyler Perry directly, urging him to apologize to Monique and set things right. 50 Cent's stance made waves because it signaled that big names could indeed stand with a so-called canceled figure and not face immediate ruin. In effect, he challenged Oprah's influence head-on, suggesting there was another lane in Black Hollywood that didn't revolve around appeasing talk show royalty. Opinions became even more fractured when Taraji P. Henson opened up about her own pay issues.
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost.
Her situation was different from Monique's, but echoed a familiar refrain: underpayment, lack of career advancement, and an expectation to be grateful merely for having a seat at the table. Taraji recently revealed that she nearly walked away from a deal involving the color purple, feeling Oprah's initial offer was downright insulting. Taraji confessed that she'd gone 6 years without a true raise, despite headlining major projects and proving her star power time and again. When she spoke candidly about this on Gayle King's satellite radio show, you could practically hear jaws dropping. Gayle King is closely tied to Oprah, so the revelation felt pointed, a direct shot at someone who was supposed to be an advocate but seemed to be playing hardball. That's where 50 Cent found another cause. He reposted Taraji's statements, expressing outrage and support. It wasn't just personal beef anymore, it became a systemic issue. Taraji's frustration represented countless other black actors facing the same uphill battle in Hollywood. If an A-list performer who starred in Empire and blockbuster films could be forced to fight tooth and nail for decent pay, imagine how much harder it is for lesser-known talents. Meanwhile, fans and observers connected the dots between Oprah's alleged roles in these salary disputes, noticing that she seemed to sidestep direct responsibility despite the fact that her name and production power were all over these projects. For them, it looked like Oprah was ignoring the very injustices she'd built her empire claiming to stand against. The bigger question, then, is why these issues persist. Some argue that Oprah, after years of championing philanthropic causes and highlighting civil rights struggles on her show, feels she's done her part. Maybe she believes that paying forward only goes so far and that show business is still business. Others believe she's out of touch with the new generation of Black Hollywood, that she's lost the sense of urgency once driving her. They point to her cozy relationships with white billionaires, her moderate stances on certain controversies, and her brand partnerships that tiptoe around polarizing social issues. Skeptics say Oprah's net worth and global reach insulate her from the day-to-day inequalities that lesser-known Black creatives experience. All of these controversies converge on a single reality. Black Hollywood is far from united, and trust in Oprah's moral leadership is fraying. Taraji P. Henson's heartbreak, Monique's blacklisting, Ludacris's ambush interview, and Dave Chappelle's sense of betrayal all paint a picture of an industry star who might not be living up to the ideals she professes. 50 Cent has become an unlikely guardian angel for these dissenting voices, calling out hypocrisy whenever he sees it. Of course, 50 Cent's approach can be heavy-handed, and critics might argue that he's stirring the pot for clout. But the sheer number of similar stories coming from different corners of Hollywood is hard to dismiss as a coincidence. You don't have to demonize Oprah to believe that a reckoning is unfolding. Perhaps it's simply that high-profile names are more willing to speak openly in an era where social media can amplify their voices. Or maybe Oprah's business strategies are bumping up against a younger generation's belief in transparency and equality. One thing is certain, the conversation won't die down anytime soon. Monique is still outspoken, Taraji isn't shy about reminding folks that she knows her worth, and 50 Cent, love him or hate him, has proven he won't back down from a fight. Each day, the conversation about Oprah's role in Black Hollywood grows more intense. What do we make of all this? Hollywood, as an industry, thrives on appearances. Oprah's carefully curated brand has been one of unwavering philanthropy, emotional intelligence, and empowerment for decades. The controversies swirling around her threaten to chip away at that image. Some fans remain loyal, insisting she has done immeasurable good with her platform, building schools, promoting reading with her famous book club, and spotlighting underrepresented stories in her earlier shows. Others, however, look at the experiences of Monique, Taraji, and others as proof that even philanthropic icons can slip into exploitative practices when it comes to business. It's also worth noting how Oprah's alleged pattern of silence resonates against the backdrop of other big revelations in the entertainment world, like the Sony hack that revealed corporate biases and the wave of tossed Me Too allegations that put a spotlight on systemic abuse. In this climate, celebrities who feel slighted or harmed by powerful media figures have become increasingly bold, knowing that the public, more than ever, hungers for transparency and accountability. This might explain why the conversation around Oprah's approach to Black artists has escalated rather than faded away. People no longer want to let an institution overshadow glaring issues. To some, the real heartbreak is that Oprah could be such a force for good if she'd choose to open more doors instead of selectively deciding who's deemed worthy. Her influence is unmatched. A single nod on her show could catapult an unknown author to the top of bestseller lists, and she's proven her ability to impact political campaigns, philanthropic projects, and cultural discussions. Yet the experiences of Taraji, Monique, 50 Cent, Ludacris, Dave Chappelle, and even Denzel Washington's brush with corporate racism suggests that the system behind her brand is not always so welcoming to those who challenge its parameters. Because of that, the tension remains. Where do we draw the line between Oprah's personal choices as a mogul and her social responsibility as one of the most successful Black women in history? At the end of the day, the revelations about Oprah's alleged exploitation, blacklisting, or ambush interview tactics could be a sign that icons aren't always what they seem. Maybe Oprah is a complicated figure who has done enormous good yet has also succumbed to the relentless demands of corporate media. Or maybe she genuinely believes that tough love and stringent business negotiations are the only ways to remain competitive in an industry that has seldom been kind to Black creators. Whatever your perspective, one thing remains clear. People like Taraji P. Henson, 50 Cent, Ludacris, Dave Chappelle, and Monique are telling us that what happens on stage or on camera doesn't always reflect the deeper power plays behind closed doors. If so many respected performers are ringing alarm bells, can we really afford not to pay attention? Now that these stories are finally out in the open, the conversation has shifted. Audiences and fans are looking beyond Oprah's polished public image and asking hard questions. Was she always this way, or did fame and fortune steer her down a path of selective empathy? Is the tension just a misunderstanding fueled by personal grudges, or is it proof that Hollywood's top-tier players sometimes undercut their own communities? These controversies might not demolish her empire overnight, but they've certainly forced many to look at the icon in a whole new light. The real question is, will Oprah address these allegations head-on, or will they continue to grow louder until she has no choice but to respond? One thing's for sure, Black Hollywood is no longer staying silent, and that alone might be the biggest wake-up call Oprah has ever faced.